This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everyone. We all deal with these challenges from time to time. I'm talking about gastro challenges. Everybody has them, let's be honest. Let's get that out there right now. No matter what it is, whether it's something major, whether it's you ate something like bloated, what's going on with that? She is somebody that gives a lot of insight on all of these issues. And as a registered dietitian, nutritionist, certified diabetes care and education specialist, and so much more, give some clarity on what's going on within our bodies. So we're going to dig into that gastro issues today. And because we need to. This is stuff that people don't talk about. We are going to talk about it today, and doing that with Abby Black, who's back on the program. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Gastro-wise, okay. Thank you for asking.
Good. Glad to hear it.
So why don't we just go through different challenges, different things, like the bloating thing. If it's not a regular thing, but every once in a while when you maybe eat something and you haven't even identified what the something is, and there is that just like that full feeling and just bloating, if you will. What is actually going on in our gastro tract?
So typically what's happening when we're getting bloating is there's something that we're not tolerating. And so it could be food, and we need to try to figure out and pinpoint, okay, what exactly is that food or foods that are causing bloating? It could be stress, and that could be our reaction to stress. It could be something much bigger, and it could be a gastrointestinal issue that we need to get looked at further.
Never even considered that it could be stress. Wow. I've dealt with stress, and that's why I think I shared I had diagnosed with an ulcer in like 2016, thought it was back again a year and a half ago. It was stress. But I never equated, some occasional bloating with that. Why is it, as we age, certain things don't agree with our stomachs
anymore?
Right. And then sometimes it might not be all the time where you have an issue.
Right.
Why? Like, what's going on?
It makes it so much more complicated, because if it was every single time I eat this food and then there's bloating, then I know, okay, temporarily take it out and try it back in a few months and see how that goes. But it's not that simple usually. So a lot of times as we're aging, our body just isn't working as well as it did back when we were in our 20s, for example. So that being said, when we are getting older, we have there's certain tendencies. For example, there's more likelihood for, you can either be like a dairy intolerance potentially, just because we're not having those enzymes on board as readily as we used to. So that can be more common as we age. There's certain nutrients that we can't utilize them as well. And so we may have, like, for example, B12, that may start to be an issue that we need to be aware of to get in more foods with B12, or potentially needing to supplement with that. But it really, as we age, our body is just getting older. And so again, not working as well as it used to decades ago.
So quick story. I'm going to share this.
Okay.
This is 2 years ago. I met somebody to go kayaking. Love kayaking. It was sort of like a date. Okay. And the person was a little bit late. So I was like, I'll run and get a slice or two of pizza. Eat the pizza and begin kayaking. And it was, it was a trek. Like it's like an hour and a half. There's no turning around because of the current. And I'm going along, the river there, and I'm starting to feel like, whoa, little rumbles down below. I'm like, ooh, I don't know what's going on. Then it started getting worse. And I'm talking, it was only like 30 minutes. It continued, now to the point where I'm thinking, I have a problem here. We have a challenge. This is gross but funny at the same time. So I'm kayaking along, having a conversation. I almost didn't want to talk anymore because I was trying to focus on not having a problem.
Sure.
As I'm going down the river, I'm actually looking for the foliage, the biggest leaves I can find. And there was like a halfway point where you take your kayaks out and you got to put them back in. It's like a waterfall. And I was like, I'll be right. I'm just going to run up into the woods. I'll be right back. Took care of what needed to get taken care of. Come back, dove in the water, and she's like, what are you jumping in the water for? I'm like, I just want to see what the temperature was. I just want to clean it up.
Yeah,
All good.
good.
My point here is, never had a problem with pizza. And I still to the day wonder maybe it was bad cheese. And there have been occasional times after that where, little uncomfortable, but nothing to that degree. But I'm just wondering, does the body change? I guess dairy is probably the first thing that as you get older, you have challenges with, right?
You do have more challenges as you get older with dairy. There also could have been that potential of foodborne illness for the pizza that you grabbed, depending on if they had it sitting out way too long. So it may not have just been the dairy. It could have been more of improper food handling from wherever it was bought, potentially. So
would it affect you in 30 minutes like that?
It could, yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Usually within like 12 to 24 hours typically for foodborne illness, but sometimes it happens much faster.
Until we had this conversation, I never even thought that it could have been bad. I was thinking more of like, and again, after that, occasionally, just with pizza, a little, but not even close to that situation.
Yeah. Wow. And that makes me wonder if it wasn't foodborne illness potentially, because again, if you are noticing some issues with dairy, then it's something to consider. But if it's not happening repeatedly, it makes me think there was maybe another cause to that.
And maybe, like we said, as you age, it affects you differently. Maybe I'm starting to get more sensitive to dairy, and then whatever was up with that pizza at that moment, it might have been like, it really, really set it off. Wow.
Yeah.
Never forget it though. And now,
no.
When I have pizza, I'm like, gotta be prepared.
Right.
I don't want to do that again.
No.
How about some of the other challenges? Maybe some of the more common ones that people deal with or get diagnosed with that we could kind of go into.
Sure. So when I would say the most common situation of getting diagnosed with something related to gastrointestinal issues is usually IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome. And what that is really more of, honestly, not really knowing the answer. So people are just kind of grouped into that. If Crohn's or ulcerative colitis or other gastrointestinal issues have been ruled out, then that's kind of where a lot of people I find are clumped into that category, which doesn't really necessarily help. But then from there, we have to figure out, okay, are there certain foods that are triggers? And is a person having more constipation and more diarrhea, or is it a combination of those? So it's rotating back and forth. And so I really work with clients to figure out, okay, based on what you're eating, are there certain foods that are triggering this response? Or are there certain ways we can figure this out? For example, food sensitivity testing. Does it make sense to do that so we can get a true picture of those foods, chemicals, additives that are really triggering an inflammatory response and getting that inflammation down to help a person feel better?
From people I know that deal with or have dealt with IBS, it's an ongoing thing.
It is, unfortunately, yes.
And from what I heard, and please give me your feedback on this, that it can be emotional too. That can actually trigger things.
Very much, yes. Again, getting back to that stress that we don't actually take, we sometimes realize we're stressed, but we're not taking it as far as an awareness of how much it's impacting our health, our body, our overall wellness. And so with that, stress can just add to those symptoms of diarrhea or constipation potentially.
In your experience and knowledge, what percentage would you put the challenges we have being connected to emotional stress, the mind is where I'm going with that. If it's, it's not 100%, but, 100%, that's what causes it. That's what's at play here. Kind of, and this is not scientific.
No, not scientific.
Where would you put that?
It is so related, honestly, that I think there's what I've seen as far as working with clients is there's such a connection between stress, our mental health, what we're eating, and then we're getting into the gut brain axis for gut microbiome and all of that area. So it's definitely, I think as time goes on, we'll even see a much bigger reaction or relationship, I should say, between those.
So as I've come to learn, there is a major connection with the stomach and the mind. Can you tell us about that? Like, what's going on there?
So what is being looked at right now as far as research is, or what has been for a while, and again, continuing to get more and more data with this, is taking into effect, for example, if somebody has irritable bowel syndrome and looking at, okay, if we look at their nutrition, so we work with a dietitian and then also we add on therapy together and seeing if that actually helps to decrease the symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. So again, coming at it from the nutrition arena and also from the mental health standpoint together to support that client.
I've heard this. I don't know if it's true. I'm going to try and verbalize it, but I've heard that the stomach, it's almost as if it has its own little brain. Best way to describe it. Is that kind of what's going on there? Why it's so impactful that, our emotions kind of fuel, how we feel?
Definitely. Yeah. Our stomach, our intestines, it's all going to be impacted by how we feel because we've got good bacteria happening in our body. We've also got not so good bacteria. And so we've got to try to make sure that the good bacteria is outweighing the not so good bacteria and helping us feel better. But if we don't have that in alignment, it definitely is going to make everything much more challenging.
So you mentioned bacteria. So let's open that door now.
Sure.
I always get confused. Prebiotic, probiotic, help.
Yeah, no,
please break it down.
It's yeah, no, it is so confusing because I think like every 10, 15 years, we keep adding on more and more words that are so similar.
Yes. Oh gosh, I didn't even, yeah,
prebiotics,
please.
Yeah, prebiotics, if you think of it, those are kind of like what are feeding the bacteria. So you've got to kind of have them before in your gut to help to feed that bacteria. So prebiotics, think of things that are more fermented, for example. So like sauerkraut, for example, would be something that's fermented. That would be a prebiotic. A probiotic is going to be more one of those strands like acidophilus, or, there's so many different strains of probiotics.
I'm holding a container of yogurt.
Yes,
that would be
yes.
probiotic.
So if you look in the ingredient list, it should say a long name for that would be the probiotic.
And those are live cultures.
Live cultures, exactly. Yes.
It's funny is we say the word bacteria. Is that bacteria?
So live cultures, technically, you can have good bacteria in your body. So if you're eating those live cultures, that good bacteria is helping. So for example, if you were having to take an antibiotic for some reason, you would actually want to bring in that good bacteria, those probiotics, to help balance what the antibiotic is taking away. The antibiotic usually is not able to target just a specific area. So it's going to target your whole body and it's going to take away all of your bacteria. You've got to, again, wait about 3 hours in between your antibiotic and your probiotic, but you want that probiotic to bring back in the good bacteria.
Wow. So would you say you should eat yogurt if you're on an antibiotic? Spaced
Definitely.
out.
If you can tolerate dairy, number one. If you can tolerate yogurt, that's the first aspect. Yeah. Yes. Then yes. If you can't tolerate dairy, there are non-dairy probiotics. There are a lot of different probiotic brands, on the market. That gets into being careful that it's reliable and a safe probiotic, but you can utilize that instead of a yogurt, for example, that has the cultures.
Should we be taking either of those two on a regular basis?
It really depends on how a person is eating. If they are not getting any type of carbohydrates, for example, because carbohydrates are going to be a good source, whether it's grains or fruits or vegetables, those are going to help build our good bacteria in our body. And so if a person isn't eating that, there is that possibility. One, they're already going to have nutrient deficiencies because they're missing out on all those foods and those food groups. But then also there's really not an easy way to build back in that good bacteria.
So I'm going to try and do this as fast as possible, but I bought something a while back, and I'm looking on my Amazon orders. I have yet to use it, and I don't even know, like somebody told me to get it, and I'm like, I don't even know if I can find it this fast, but let's see if it comes up.
Okay.
Yes, it did. I bought it over a year or so ago, and it's super enzymes. So I'm going to try and give, supports healthy digestion, breaks down fats, carbs, protein, optimizes nutrient availability. I'm trying to give, should be right here of what it is. It's a capsule.
Right. So that is actually a little bit different than a probiotic. That is actually a digestive enzyme, which means that it's giving you those enzymes in that capsule to help break down the food. So as we get older, just like I was talking about, sometimes as we get older, some people have more of an intolerance with dairy, for example. It's a similar situation. Sometimes we have difficulty breaking down food. So we need those enzymes to help break that food down for us.
Would you suggest taking something like that?
That I would want to know, and I have to say it on air, obviously, but I would want to know the brand because dietary supplements are not regulated. So we have to make sure that what you bought is going to be safe and accurate and tested
I'm happy
by a
to
third
share
party.
it. And I've heard they're reputable, but what do I know?
Okay.
It's called Simply Now Supplements.
Okay. That is one that I would honestly have to research a little bit to dive in to see what I can find for the research and make sure it's tested by a third party, because if it's not tested, we can't guarantee that what it says it actually contains. And so we have to be very careful because it isn't regulated. So when you're buying things on, whether it be, Amazon or a grocery store, wherever it may be, you can't verify unless it's really checked out to say that what you bought is actually what you're getting without contamination.
I just checked here. This fall, it will be 2 years since I bought it. And it's
probably expired by now. So I wouldn't take it.
There's also something here, to your point. It's got a GMP certification.
Okay.
I don't know what that means. Every aspect of their supplement manufacturing process has been audited, including their lab testing methods, et cetera, for product formulation, potency, stability.
Yeah. That's good. That's what you want. Or the USP symbol, which is United States Pharmacopoeia, where again, it's tested by third party lab to make sure it is what it is.
Learning a lot today. Got to tell you, Abby. Assuming that it's good stuff, would you suggest that, we take stuff like this? Or how would you know that you should be taking stuff like this?
Not everybody needs to take it, honestly. That's where meeting with me individually can be helpful, so we can really break it down. What are your symptoms? How often are you having them? Does it make sense to trial something like a digestive enzyme? Some people definitely need it because their body isn't able to produce it on their own. But it's not something that I would say, oh, everybody should go out and buy it.
It really comes down to working with somebody like you by the way, I probably have more stuff like this in my cabinet that I bought. Sounded like a good idea. And then my brain put a block up. It's like, oh, wait a minute. What are you taking? Why are you taking this? I don't
Right.
know. I know nothing about this.
We need to
Nothing.
go through the medicine cabinet and go through everything to make sure it's doable and recommended for sure.
Mm. Yeah, I call upon you because
That's
it
fine.
would actually save money in the long run instead of just
Yes,
buying
you
things that are
would.
sitting up in the cabinet. And this is
Right.
not the first. There's other stuff
Hmm.
up there that I bought, digestion connected,
Sure.
that I never took.
Right.
Uh, Tell us about your process when you work with somebody. Obviously, starts with a conversation, maybe hearing goals. How does it work?
Right. So basically, I'm meeting with a client first, and people can reach me either through my website, which is AB Nutrition Solutions, and send me a message that way, or contact me at 269-369-2347. And what I do first is we go through a person's medical history because I want to know everything. I want to look at labs that they've had just so I can get the full situation with each client. And then we go through and figure out short-term goals and long-term goals and make a plan moving forward.
Final questions here. Curious. Fruit. Is it okay? Should we be eating, a fair amount of fruit? There are some that say, well, it's loaded with sugar, but then my brain says, well, that's natural sugar. I don't know. And even, I'm going to say this too. I was running out yesterday and I was like, you know what? I just need a little something pick me up. Had some bananas. So I grab a banana and I'm eating it. And my brain is like, you've heard that that's the highest glycemic
Glycemic
of all fruit.
index.
Yeah, loaded with natural sugar, the most of all of them, depending on how ripe it is. And I'm like, should I be eating this right now? I don't even know. Tastes good. Put something in your stomach, but let's go there. It's summertime. Lots of us are eating fruit. What are your thoughts?
Right. Yeah. The nice thing is a lot of fruit is in season right now, so we can just add on to that, whereas we can't necessarily always get it in the wintertime. As far as fruit, definitely, I think that's one of the biggest challenges is that so many people say, oh, it has sugar. And sugar isn't evil. We have to kind of keep in mind that we still do need, carbohydrates are broken down to the simplest form, which is sugar. So our body needs that to be able to go through the digestive process, give our brain fuel, give our body fuel.
Sure.
So with fruit, we definitely need that. Fruit is also not just giving us sugar, but it's also giving us fiber. It's also giving us different vitamins and nutrients that are a necessity. So it's important that if somebody is trying to cut out sugar, that we take that into account that still you need the fruit. If you take that out, then you may have digestive issues because you're not getting enough fiber to make sure you're regular on a regular basis.
Is that, thank you. Is that the main positive aspect of fruit, the fiber?
It's one of the best benefits, but also too the micronutrients. So I'm talking like potassium for your banana, for example.
Yep.
If you're doing apricots, vitamin A, there's different nutrients there that we may not be getting from other foods. And so fruit, is a good way to be able to get those missing nutrients.
I love how you just make it easy to understand. That's like your superpower. Like seriously, it's like okay, all right, got it now. And when I was eating that banana, I had a flash of potassium. That's good.
Yep,
This is good.
yep, exactly.
Thank you for today. abnutritionsolutions.com. Go there, start a conversation. I love what your website says, and I've never forgotten this. Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. Socrates maybe said that, like way
so.
back.
Yeah.
I don't think we put enough emphasis on what we're eating. And, it's always been said, you are what you eat. Yes, you are. It's so important to be eating the right thing in the right way. Thank you for today, Abby. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And we'll catch up next time. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.